Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be counting down my top 30 Mario games. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out a few ground rules. I am including Mario's spin-off games, so characters that star his friends like Luigi and Wario, but I'm not including games like Super Smash Bros. Where it's just a ton of characters in there, and Mario is just one of many. With that being said, this video is going to be probably pretty long, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Super Mario Bros. 2. This game is so weird, but in the best way possible. It allows you to play as not only Mario, but also Luigi, Toad, and Peach. It also introduces new characters like Wart and Birdo. This game feels so different from the original Mario Brothers, mainly because it was supposed to be Doki Doki Panic, but that's a story for another time. But it feels exactly how a Mario game should play, which I find really impressive considering just how different it really is. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games. I'll never understand why the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series exist in the first place, but it does. While most of the series is nothing to write home about, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games has always stood out to me as the best one. It has a solid roster, and as far as a minigame collection goes, it's got some pretty fun ones. And for what this game is, it's pretty fun. Mario Party 10. This game, even making it on the list, is probably controversial, but as someone who's not a huge fan of the Mario Party series, I really enjoyed this game, and particularly due to the Bowser Party mode. There's something extremely fun about the chaos to this mode. Even though it is almost impossible to win if you aren't playing as Bowser, it's still a great time. My only complaints are being restricted to the car, and that the Amiibo Party mode doesn't really age well. Overall, a pretty good game, and it's much better than Mario Party 9. Super Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2. I'm breaking my own rules here by putting two games in the same slot. These are some of the weirdest Mario games, but even throughout all of the weirdness, it has changed the series by giving us characters that are still relevant to this day, like Daisy and Wario. I've also got to take a moment to shout out the soundtracks to these games because they are some of the greatest that the Mario series has to offer. While these games are extremely short, I've got to say that they are really good Mario games, and if you haven't played them, they're worth a try. Mario Kart Double Dash, probably the most interesting of the Mario Kart games, but I've got to be honest, the gimmick just really isn't for me. I think the game is an amazing step up from the Mario Kart games that had come before, but it doesn't even come close to any of the games that would follow. I will give it credit for having really good looking tracks, and while I'm not a huge fan of the character-specific power-ups, I still have to admit that some of them are cool, and the roster itself is the best that it had been at the time. Overall, a really good Mario Kart game, just not a great one, but a good one. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. The worst of the Luigi's Mansion series is still in the top 25, which I feel like says a lot about this series as a whole. Honestly, the game has a lot of problems, like there being way too many mansions and none of them being that memorable, and the ghost being way too goofy. But with all the problems that there are two things that save it. First, this being the first time Luigi's Mansion was portable, and second, the fact that this game could be played in 3D. Not good 3D, of course, but 3D. Hopefully the Switch remaster does change enough stuff to move it up a little bit on my list, which I do think it has the potential to do. Super Mario 64 DS, a remake to Super Mario 64 that in my opinion is much better in every way. For starters, the biggest change is that you can now play as Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario, all of which play differently and are really fun in different unique ways. Other than that, it is very similar to the original Super Mario 64, except now it is portable. The only negative I have to say about this game is that especially on the original DS, it can be kind of hard to control, and doesn't quite play as smoothly as the original. With that being said, if I'm going to play Mario 64, I always go with the DS version. Super Mario Sunshine is a weird one for me. In theory, this should be my favorite Mario game. The beach theme is really cool.
It's just like the game!
But yet, it isn't really fun to play. Even just basic platforming can be extremely difficult. I think a big part of this is that with FLUDD, Mario's moveset becomes much more complicated than it has ever been before. With that being said, I would love a true remake of this game that works out on the controls, and I think it could be one of the greatest. But as it stands now, as amazing as this game looks, it just really isn't fun to control. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. The second game in the new series. The biggest feature of this game is that it has options for 4-player co-op, the return of Yoshi, a few new items, as well as the Kooplings finally coming back after years of absence. And although many people are tired of them now, their return was a big deal, especially at the time. The problem is that even with these changes, it just really wasn't different enough from the original game to be any higher on the list. There's also the question that comes up of why are there 2 Toads? Like, of all the Mario characters, why would you pick only 2 Toads? But to finish things off, just like with all the new Super Mario Bros. Games, even with all the problems, it is still an incredibly fun game to play, and I mean, at least it's not New Super Mario Bros. 2. Mario and Luigi partners in time. I feel like this is what everyone says, but I'm not really a big RPG guy. So that is why I find this game so impressive. It is an RPG that I really enjoyed. I think the main reason I enjoyed this game is because it isn't afraid to show new sides of the Mario world that we don't normally see, with creatures like shrooms. Not to mention that this game is really dark, while still finding a way to be funny with characters like Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. It's also both a time travel and an alien plot at the same time, which might sound complicated and confusing, and that's because it is. But it's honestly a really good game and worth checking out. Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 March of the Minis. I feel like this series has been almost completely forgotten about. But at least at the start of this series run, it was really fun. This is easily the best Mario puzzle game. The designs of the toy characters are really fun. Insert FNAF joke here. The game mixes classic Donkey Kong with puzzle games, and it works really well. We also see Pauline, who is a character who has showed up way less over time. The boss fights are fun, the music is great, and honestly the series would have worked great on mobile, way better than Mario Run. Mario Kart DS. The Mario Kart with Rob. This is the most simple of the Mario Kart games, but it's still very fun. Considering how small the roster is, it still includes a few fun surprises like Dry Bones and the previously mentioned Rob. All in all, it's a pretty solid Mario game and definitely worth checking out. Super Mario Galaxy. When Galaxy first released, I was not a huge fan of the game. With that being said, when 3D All-Stars released, I decided to give the game another chance, and I've got to say, this is a really good game. The level design is really good, the new power-ups are really fun, the soundtrack is amazing, and it's definitely worth playing if you haven't already. Yoshi's Island is a simple fun game that is worth at least one playthrough. While it is nowhere near as good as most of the mainline Mario games, it still brings a lot of interesting new ideas, and is fairly easy for anyone to pick up and play. Super Mario Galaxy 2. I have always preferred Galaxy 2 over Galaxy 1. I really like the use of the power-ups in this game, the inclusion of Yoshi is always fun, 2-player support as a Luma is interesting, and while a little weird, it is enjoyable, and the best thing I can say about this game is that it is much better than the first, which is already a pretty good game. Super Mario Bros. For the NES. It feels weird putting the original so low on this list, but I feel like that goes to show just how great this series has become over time. The original game is simple but fun. I will say that it's crazy just how many things from this original game are still relevant to this day. My only complaint with this game is that it gets very repetitive, but it's hard to complain about something like that, especially when you consider when this game was released. Mario Kart Wii is when I believe Mario Kart became one of Nintendo's greatest series. Honestly, there's only one real problem I have with this game, and that's that I've never really been a fan of the color grading. Other than that, this is a nearly perfect game. The roster is pretty solid, it adds some new tracks that are some of the greatest tracks in the series, the inclusion of motorcycles is fun, and obviously it adds the Wii Wheel. Everyone loves the Wii Wheel, and it's definitely never gone the way of anyone when they're trying to race. Super Mario Odyssey. If there's one thing I can say about this game right off the bat, it is that it feels amazing to play and is one of the most fun out of all the 3D Mario games. I really like the capture mechanic with Cappy, and playing as some of the classic Mario enemies is really fun. My only real complaint with this game is that it doesn't really feel like a Mario game. Like the Metro Kingdom and the dinosaur are things that just really feel out of place and take me out of the experience. Overall, a really good game, and has me excited to see what they do with the future of the 3D Mario series. New Super Mario Bros. DS, the long-awaited return to 2D Mario, and honestly, they nailed it. This game is so much fun to play, and the fact that it was all on a handheld system makes it even more impressive. I would make the argument that this game and its success has affected every Mario game since. Even past the main adventure, this game includes local multiplayer where you and a friend race to collect stars, as well as a ton of minigames. Honestly, this game deserves way more praise than it gets. Donkey Kong Country is such a fun game. The atmosphere of this game is so unique from anything else in the Mario series, which I feel makes it stand out as a really great spin-off. I think it's really fun how you control two characters in this game, and of course I have to at least take a moment to mention the iconic minecart levels. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I find it so impressive just how much better Tropical Freeze is compared to any of the other games in the Donkey Kong Country series, especially considering that the entire game is focused on water and ice levels, which are notorious for being the worst kind of levels in gaming. I do like having the choice in Sidekick between Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky, even if I do always pick Dixie because her ability is clearly the most useful. Honestly, it's a really great game, and if you haven't played this one, I highly recommend it. In fact, it's even on the Switch, so you can play it pretty easily. Super Mario Super Sluggers. As you can probably tell by my list so far, I'm not a huge fan of the Mario sports games. With that being said, Super Mario Super Sluggers is ridiculously fun. Like every aspect of this game is fun. Like something even as simple as just building your team is fun due to the crazy amount of characters in the roster. There's also a story mode which is really fun, and it's something that I have a ton of memories with. This game is great, and I can say without a doubt we need a new Mario baseball game for the Switch. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. If you're looking for a new Super Mario Bros. Game to play, this is the one I would recommend. The game looks amazing and the soundtrack is pretty solid, making for a really fun time. It includes a new character, Toadette, which is a nice addition. The game also includes new Super Luigi U, which is the most creative that the new Super Mario Bros. Series has ever been, allowing for the new character Nabbit as well as an increase in the difficulty from the original game, making it much more fun. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, easily the greatest game in the Mario Kart series. The roster is amazing, including even oddballs like the Koopalings and the Inklings. The tracks are all interesting and the best that they've ever looked. The zero gravity segments at different levels are really fun and make the game stand out from other Mario Kart games, and the battle mode is really fun again after its weird addition to the Wii U game. Super Mario Bros. 3 is a classic. It adds many of my favorite items to the Mario series like the Tanuki suit and the Frog suit. I love the idea that this game is a stage play. It introduces the Koopalings, which are characters that I am a huge fan of, and it's super replayable, which is not something I can say about all of the games on this list. Overall, a great Mario game. Luigis Mansion 3. It's crazy how much of an improvement this is over Dark Moon. The cutscenes are amazing, I love the atmosphere of the hotel, the new boss fights are really fun. The only real complaint I have with this game are the Polterkitty missions, which are very boring and take up way too much of the game. Overall, an amazing game and proves that we need more Luigi's Mansion. Mario Party 8 is the best Mario Party game. As someone who is not a huge Mario Party fan, I can say that I have spent countless hours playing this one with friends. I believe this one has the best minigames out of any Mario Party game, the candies are really fun, and I have to give a shout out to Koopa's Tycoon Town for being the best board in any Mario Party game. Super Mario World, the best of the 2D Marios. This is the first Mario game where it feels good to just run around. Like the controls of Mario are almost perfect. Of course I have to mention Yoshi, who makes his first mainline Mario appearance in this game. The new items like the Cape Feather are fun, and overall it's just a great game. Luigi's Mansion. Easily not only one of my favorite Mario games, but favorite games of all time. This game is so much fun. Each and every boss fight is super fun, especially since all the portrait ghosts have super fun and unique designs. Egad is such a great addition to the Mario universe. King Boo is a really fun boss fight, and the amount of personality they give to Luigi in this game was unheard of for any Mario game up until this point. Super Mario 3D World. This one might be controversial, but my favorite Mario game is 3D World. Mainly just because everything in 3D World is fun. The addition of racing to the crown in each level is fun. These stamps are the greatest collectible in any Mario game as someone who normally doesn't care about collectibles in video games. The characters are all fun to play, not to mention I still think the level design in this game is really good, and the art style of this game is even better than Odyssey in my opinion. This game includes the best of the best when it comes to the Mario power-ups, and I hope we see more games in the 3D world, half 2D, half 3D style going forward. So that's the end of my list. Obviously there's a ton of Mario games that didn't get included, and there's a ton of Mario games that I still haven't played to this day, so if there's any games that you think deserve to be on this list that weren't there, definitely let me know in the comments below so that maybe I can check some of them out. I would love in a year or so to maybe come back and revisit this idea and update my list with new Mario games. I know Super Mario Wonder is coming out, that looks like it has a chance of making the list, so definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye guys.